This is the Long Island Lobby Coalition. Adrian, this is our 16th 16th trip that we've done together to Albany. How many folks have been up before with us? Raise your hands. And how many? This is your first time? Oh, we got some newbies.
Oh my God.
Damn. All right, no.
But you're an old pro.
Yeah. So this is great. We got a nice mix. We got a great agenda. We've got Senate meetings. We got Assembly meetings. We got the governor's office. We got Adrian. We even have a rally.
Yeah. Okay. This is optional. I normally don't talk in a microphone at 6 a.m. But anyway, so this is definitely optional. There's a rally on the Extended Producer Responsibility Bill, but now affectionately called Solid Waste Reduction and Recycling Bill. So if you want to join, it's at 3. And then it's at the Capitol at what's called the $1 Million Staircase. If you haven't been there, you should just go to the rally just to see the staircase. And then we're going to be right in the Capitol anyway for our meeting with the governor's staff at 3:30. So it kind of works out kind of perfectly. And the EPR bill is on our agenda. Everyone engaged. So thank you very much for showing up.
All right. Rock and roll. Okay. All right, guys. So read the platform, and we're going to get rolling, and we'll do that in a little bit. Okay.
Well, at least 2 hours. And we make one stop in the morning.
Okay. We're ready to rock.
And roll. Welcome. It's February 27th, and here we are at the 16th Annual Long Island Lobby Day. Long Island Lobby Day is the most diverse coalition in the history of Long Island, representing Chamber of Commerce, business groups, small business groups, environmental groups, smart growth organizations, and social service organizations, and so much more. We come together to form an agenda that makes Long Island stronger, makes Long Island more lovable and more livable, and actually more sustainable. So we're here with a diverse group of people who are going to speak to all of our Long Island representatives as well as the governor's office to tell them what Long Island needs in the 2024 budget and legislative session. The co-host today is Eric Alexander. My name's Adrian Esposito. I forgot.
Thanks, Adrian. So we're here today. We've done this for 16 years. We've passed 20 pieces of legislation thanks to New York State Assembly senators and governors that have listened to Long Island. That's what we're looking to get today. The big issue we're tackling is that Long Island sends $14 billion more to Albany than we get back. Yeah, that's a problem. So what we have is an agenda full of resources that can come to Long Island, that can come back to Long Island, so we can shrink that gap. We have no trouble paying more, but we need resources for a whole slew of things, from small businesses to human service and human needs to transportation to the environment and key infrastructure projects as well. And housing's part of that. That's housing and human services. So let's start with small business. I'm going to turn it over to Louis Vasquez from the Long Island Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning. We're here advocating for small business in Long Island. And like Eric says, a lot of money comes from Long Island to Albany, but we want some of that money back for our small businesses. We deserve it. We need all the marketing dollars that we can get, and we should be there number one. Not number three, not number four, number one in the state of New York. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Louis. I'm going to turn this over to Imran and Sari to talk on our bus systems because transportation is so important. Imran with the Long Island Federation of Labor.
How are you? So we need our fair share on Long Island to make sure that our public transit is funded not only for the workforce that gets our working people and communities to and from work and into the community every day, but also working families need good transportation to be able to get around our island. We know how important that is. So thank you to the rest of the coalition for being together and supporting this topic. Thank you.
Thanks, Imran. And let's get back to the environmental issues. And I know sewers are so important. So, Adrian, take us through the sewer priorities we have here.
We're here today to lobby for significant infrastructure such as sewer infrastructure. We need to have sewers in modern day society in places such as Hempstead, Smithtown, Mastic Beach, and other areas throughout Long Island. In a educated and sophisticated society, we should be managing and treating our wastewater, not having it mixed with our drinking water and our coastal water resources. And just because Long Island gets an invoice, we need to make sure Long Island has a voice in how money is spent.
Love it. Hey, so one of the big issues that we are facing is affordable housing, and while none of us want mandates and controls from the state to tell Long Island municipalities what to do, we do have very innovative programs that can create affordable housing and are creating affordable housing planned locally, and that's our land trust community. So the Hempstead Land Trust is with us. I see Brandy Watson here. Brandy?
Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you. Affordable housing has been at the forefront of conversation for decades. Affordable home ownership is now recently joining that conversation. The Community Land Trust offers a model that is give opportunity of home ownership to low to moderate income individuals, especially on Long Island. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So let's keep rolling. So the mental health issues are so critical in keeping that workforce together through not just coronavirus and beyond. And so we got Jeff Reynolds here from Family and Children's Association.
Thanks, Eric. The governor proposed 1.5% in a cost of living increase for folks working under state contracts. That's great, but it's only half the job. The CPI in New York State and on Long Island is more than 3%, which means that once again we're leaving behind social workers, child care workers, direct service providers. The folks on the ground that are dealing with the aftermath of the pandemic are the ones who are chronically being underpaid. We need to fix that now. We need to fix that today.
Thank you, Jeff. Child care is such an important issue also for working families. I know Clariona Griffith.
Yes, Nassau and Suffolk County need universal preschool for all so that our parents can be able to work as well. They have it in the city, so we need it also so that all parents can be able to work and not have to worry about where to leave their children. Universal preschool for all.
Yeah.
And food insecurity is something that has impacted scores of Long Island, hundreds of thousands of Long Islanders, and Randy Dresner is here with Island Harvest for a couple priorities that they're working on, or Greg May as well.
So last year the state expanded school meals almost universal as an additional $130 million. This year we want full universal school meals. 140,000 students on Long Island were left behind. So we with the Long Island Lobby Coalition are fighting for that. We're also fighting for a SNAP minimum benefit of $100.
All right. Woo. Now, higher education is so important for the future of Long Island. Young people a lot younger than me, and we've got Neil Lewis and Jessica Gilbert from Molloy College, or University actually, speaking to the TAP issue.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Adrian. On behalf of everybody that's gone through education system in New York State. We're, thrilled that New York State offers TAP. It's existed for 50 years. It's been key to many people succeeding in getting their college degrees. But unfortunately, the numbers have not been adjusted in 25 years. So we're here today asking for action. And there's two items that we want to, there's several items, but two in particular. Jessica, you want to say?
So TAP has stayed stagnant since 1999, and what we're looking for today is TAP expansion, specifically in the TAP eligibility. Currently, people who make $80,000 and below are eligible for TAP, but that leaves a number of people who make above that without aid. So we're asking for $80,000 to be raised to $125,000. Not only this, but also for the minimum TAP awards to be raised from $500, which leaves students $250 per semester, to $1,000 for the year, to leave them with $500 per semester. Thank you.
And just to pick up on the Long Island theme, these are issues that impact downstate region, which is a high-cost region where incomes are higher. So a lot of families get cut off from this program.
Thank you. All right, so we got to wrap up here. We're going to have a more extensive agenda that we put forward. If you raise your hand if you're from a community, you're a chamber or you're a civic, and so this is the grassroots, this is the main streets. So we will be speaking about infrastructure projects impacting Long Islanders, and also downtown revitalization initiatives and economic development programs as well that represent local Long Island communities. And it's about bringing the dollars to our main streets from Albany to our local communities, because we've given it so much away. We got to bring some of it back, right? Let's bring it back. So bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back. Thank you.
That's cool.
Yeah. Thank you. So each year we come together. We've had multiple meetings to prioritize a series of things. Yeah. 5 different catchment areas. We're going to be really brief, but we'll start with small businesses, and we'll just jump right into it. The MWB support package is really important for a number of us in getting a grant.
Thank you for having us today, Senator. Actually, as Eric mentioned, there's a package of MWBE bills that we support, and we also support the reorganization of Executive Law 15A. Essentially, what we are looking to, we do support is legislation that increases utilization, increases MWBE participation, and also is just consistent with the goals and objectives of the program. For example, prompt payment of MWBE subcontractors, also providing that there's no discrimination in our procurement, and also reporting requirements for state agencies and their utilization goals, making sure that they're consistent, going from just an intermittent basis of reporting to a quarterly basis.
Let's go back to the payment situation. Delays in payments, is that what you're seeing, or?
Yes, their MWBE see that there's, for instance, on public projects, just generally from what I know, there are prompt payment requirement of subcontractors. It's codified, but with MWBEs, a slow payment, obviously, if they have cash flow, creates cash flow problems where they're not being paid and can't sustain themselves. So there are issues of a slow payment, and then not
from
being
state government,
from prime contractors.
Okay, it's not from state government, from prime contractors.
Right, from prime contractors. So in other words, it could be a situation that once the prime contractor is paid, then there's a delay in transmitting that payment to the MWBE sub.
Okay.
Thanks, Kenya. One of the other priorities is we're not getting tourism dollars and marketing dollars down to our downtowns, and it's so critical because they're doing so much to bring events into our communities. And toss it over to Lauren Wagner, Arts Alliance.
Thanks for having us today, Senator. So New York State invests a lot of money in economic development and tourism programs and a lot of other marketing efforts. So we're proposing a shift to a more local decision-making approach where some of those resources could come directly to our local chambers of commerce, who are making decisions about local events and programs that they're running in their regions, which include. You want to say something? Oh, sorry.
No.
Okay,
Go ahead.
which include a lot of arts and culture events, like festivals, things like that. Which the arts and culture industry is a $330 million economic driver on Long Island. So by transferring over to a more local approach and allowing our chambers of commerce to have marketing dollars and tourism dollars, they can invest in programs that they know are going to build their better communities and bring people to their downtowns.
Quick question for you. June, you probably heard the World Cricket Cup
Yes.
is coming to Nassau
Yes.
County.
Yep.
What what's the chamber doing to promote it? I know the tickets have already been
Yeah.
sold out. There's a big surge that's going to be happening.
Yes.
What exactly is going to be happening?
Well, I actually contacted your office about this, but what happens is Nassau County, from what I understand, is dealing with ICC directly, and what our chamber is looking to do, however, is to set up a pop-up welcome center in our area that will obviously be able to accommodate visitors.
Where?
And near the Winedance train station. So typically, when there's large events in Nassau County, like for instance the PGA Tour, at Bethpage Black, we get a lot of traffic on the train line. So what we've been trying to do is tap into logistics, and we haven't gotten so far in terms of the team that's working on it. But from what I understand, we've been in touch with the marketing team in I Love New York. They're not involved in it, but it's, from what I understand, Nassau County dealing with ICC directly.
Okay, all right. So,
but I did,
there definitely needs to be more pop-ups around the train station, not just in one.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
We got to get all these. We got to get all the money you're spending to bring people to Long Island isn't place-based. It's this amorphous North Shore, East End, and let's sell the hotels and the beaches.
Right.
There's so much more happening and richness happening in our communities, and we got to tap that in. And the chambers are doing it alone. Get them micro grants, get them resources, and you're just going to see stuff expand. The events have tripled over the last 15 years. So that's without help. Imagine we crush it if we had some real help.
What kind of help are you looking for?
Micro grants and the ability to set up almost how the tourism agency Suffolk has it, where they're kind of a go-to
They're a TPA.
TPA. So we could have another TPA that would be more connected to local communities. I
There's
don't want
a
to
new
dwell on
one
the details.
coming into Nassau County.
Yeah, we had a situation. Yeah, we don't.
Keep it moving. Don't want to get into any strangeness, but I just think it's important to get the dollars local. It's a common theme with us. Speaking about getting dollars local, I'm going to turn it over to Linda Henninger over the New York State DRI.
For Kings Park.
Yeah.
And mine really is a thank you.
Okay.
And how when money does come in, things really happen in the community. Kings Park is a wonderful, wonderful small town. We now have sewer money. Sewers are going in as we speak. We just got the DRI for $10 million. Things can really happen when government trusts the people of the town. And I'm going to give a plug for Bottom Up. That's what happened in Kings Park. The Chamber and the Civic don't agree on anything, but agreed on downtown revitalization. And this is where we are today because of it. So thank you, and it's important to keep those monies still coming into the local downtowns. It's the only way we're going to survive.
Absolutely, I agree.
So moving on to the second item, transportation. I know you've been an advocate for bus funding, increased bus funding for NICE and for Suffolk Transit. We always come hat in hand to try to get some more dollars. We have a request for $20 million more. I don't know why. I don't know if that's possible.
We'll check on that in the transportation budget.
The contrast is you spent, not you, but $11 billion on East Side Access, over budget, over time, and just less for working class people as far as buses and for complete streets, which is the next item, which is our dangerous roads we will need to address.
If I tally up the 5 most common complaints, it's always transportation. It's the LIRR. Constituents always complain, hey, it's overcrowded and I can't get to where I want to get to on time. It takes me half an hour more, especially with new schedules with the LIRR. But buses are integral, especially in our county. And, I will push as much as I can in the budget.
Thank you. Thank you. And this gets to the next item is complete streets. We've got an epidemic of dangerous roads, really dangerous roads to design. I'll toss it over to Lois for a second. I'm going to wrap up on this one. Lois.
Okay, Sunrise Highway, as you maybe know, we just had somebody get killed. 2 days ago, we had, a woman crossing the street in Lynbrook. Got hit by a car, and there were 2 in Valley Stream recently. We had 1 in Freeport. It's just continuous. In the last 6 months, probably 6 people have been hit and killed crossing Sunrise Highway.
Would it help to do like an overpass, like a walking overpass over?
That could, or even bump outs, which I know we've talked about before. I know it makes it difficult for people that are driving if they're like trying to speed down the street, but that's okay.
I've actually recommended that to many of my village mayors, but they are, not happy in putting that up because the driver then gets to sue the village for any damage to the car.
Except that it's better to have damage to the car than another
I
dead
know.
person.
Listen, I suggested that. I suggested
My
that.
thoughts?
Or natural bumps. I mean, out in Garden City, they have the tree roots. What's that on Clinton Road? Clinton, right? Where?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Go
Atlantic Avenue is
airborne.
even worse than Sunrise at times.
We have an opportunity to transform, and Jeff Reynolds and I have talked about this from a public health perspective. There's a need to change the physical nature of our roads. We know how to redesign these roads. It's really DOT is the biggest challenge. And it's really getting the state to not just put in money, but to just change their designs because they're designed, Gina, you're at Deer Park and Deer Park Avenue.
Deer Park Avenue is bad.
Every most dangerous road correlates with a state road.
Yes.
And there has been never any real leadership from the DOT, not to dump on the governor, but she's not talking about potholes, but not about traffic calming and how we can design our roads safely. It's 24/7. You don't need police presence all the time.
Yeah.
And look, it's not going to change the fact that there may be sociopaths, people high, people drunk. I get all that, but the speed reduction can happen through design. And that's what we're
Or even a stoplight,
pitching.
right?
Yeah.
Right, if they alternate the stoplights, see, so that you have to hit more red lights.
Yeah.
So it takes you 5 minutes longer.
I mean, I know we worked with the Farmingdale mayor to do something along those lines.
It's been great.
Yes.
Yes, on Concord. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a bad one, too.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really bad.
No, you did a good job there. Next phase is we got to do 109. But anyway, keep going. Let's get to environmental issues, and I see Jordan here, and I also see Robin. So maybe Jordan, you start off.
Sure. Yes, I've got 2 quick ones. You have heard from us before, so nothing new. So one is about the Suffolk County sewer referendum in the Unified Wastewater District. So first off, thank you for giving the enabling legislation last
absolutely.
year.
I know Monica was.
And she's the sponsor
Yeah.
this year. It's just slight tweaks, it's very similar, but it would allow Suffolk County to have a referendum on funding for sewers and for septic replacements for nitrogen reducing systems this coming November.
Okay.
So we needed this.
Monica's staff is right here, so
Great.
she is taking notes.
Thank her for the support. So just so you know, we're pushing very hard for this today.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And then our other one is the Packaging Reduction and Recycling Act. So
Okay.
this is Senator Harkin's. We've brought it up the last few years, but this year it has momentum. So this would take the onus off of the packaging from the taxpayers and the municipalities who are struggling under it, hundreds of millions of dollars a year, back onto the manufacturers.
This was Senator Kaminsky's bill before.
It was Senator Kaminsky's,
I remember this.
So yeah, less toxic packaging, less packaging, more recycling is the end goal there.
Okay. I think there was some push in our environmental budget package on this, so that's it.
I think so too, yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Robin?
Hi, thanks so much for having me, Senator. Nice to meet you. I'm here to advocate, or we're here to advocate for clean water legislation. The executive budget has cut the funding in half.
Yes, 250 million.
250
Completely
million.
aware.
So we are here to advocate for restoration to 500 million, or even better, a $600 million budget for this year. This is statewide. It's not all going to Long Island, so in the bigger picture, it's not a lot of funding.
I'm already on your side.
Thank you.
Love it.
And as Save the Great South Bay, we support the Suffolk County
Yes.
sewer district.
Unlike New York City, we don't get our water from the mountains. It's underground, and we keep polluting it.
So, all right, so we went 3 items moving into housing, human needs, and human services. We got 3 items under housing. One, as I thanked you already for shifting now away from mandates and into incentives, and we do support the governor's pro-housing initiative, number 1. Number 2, we do want our fair share of affordable housing dollars that we don't always get. And that's a challenge because the agency's 2 years delayed. The developers are telling us their projects are delayed.
So what the
2
governor is
years.
doing right now, especially with 30-day amendments, the Long Island Investment Fund,
Yeah.
she's now including, hey, pro-housing districts or communities, can tap into that money.
Good.
To build.
Good. That's a great step. I think it's just even kick-starting the tax credit deals that are already supposed to get their dollars, and they're just being delayed by the agency. Not sure why. So that's just a question. We could follow up with that. But most importantly, we always spotlight, and I know you know of this organization and this model. The land trust model is fantastic. And Brandy, if you want to speak to it.
Thank you very much, Senator, for allowing us to give us this time.
Yes.
You are familiar with the Uniondale Community Land Trust. You're also familiar with the Long Island Housing Partnerships arm of the Community Land Trust.
Yeah.
Well, the Hempstead Community Land Trust launched in 2019. We were incorporated in 2010. We have taken 3 years to give ourselves capacity to do what it is that we've set out to do, and that is to provide affordable home ownership opportunity to low to moderate income individuals. Not beyond affordable housing where there's rental, there is an expiration date on that particular program. Under our program, it is affordable in perpetuity, meaning that generational wealth can be generated. We are looking for funding. I can tell you since the last time that we've met you, we have expanded beyond the village of Hempstead. We feel that giving our clientele the opportunity to choose where they live, whether it be East Rockaway, Freeport, Garden City, wherever, would be a better advantage and opportunity for them. So that's where we are right now. Our first project is underway, East Rockaway.
Nice.
Yes,
okay.
sir. And we're building modular to keep it affordable, and also to expedite the completion time for our project. We need funding.
How much are you looking for?
For our first project, $290,000. It's not bad. $290,000. We were able to negotiate to purchase this property for $48,000.
Okay.
Okay, it is in a flood zone. We understand that. We already have the engineers who've taken a look at what's possible. How do we mitigate that situation? But it's near the schools. It's a wonderful community. East Rockaway by the water and by Bay Park. It's a
So as a coalition, as opposed to individual asks that we could all have,
Right.
we'd like to see a pot of funding for land trust that
Period,
then could,
yes.
same concept, micro grants that could go to the various communities that are structured and set up for these things.
How's this land trust incorporated?
We're a 501c3.
And there's a Uniondale one, I think there's one
Yeah,
out
yeah,
east. There's a few now
Hempstead.
popping up. Yeah, Hempstead,
Right.
yeah.
But across the state of New York, you've got 25 CLTs.
Yeah.
But it's
Okay,
growing.
we
It
are-
used to be just an idea.
Yeah, we are a part of the New York State CLT training program. We were selected for that several months ago. So, and that's been administered by Enterprise.
Yeah. So anyway, that's really,
Yeah.
thank you, Brandy.
Yeah.
And also under affordable housing, we do support the affordable housing vouchers, the Section 8 version of the state version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, desperately working people are struggling. Tossing it over to Jeff Reynolds for mental health and workforce.
Sure. The governor put a 1.5% cost of living increase for staff working under state contracts, OMH, OASIS, TCJS, OCFS. That's great, but it doesn't keep pace
I
with
know.
inflation.
I was just going to say that because we've already had people come.
Yeah,
and
it's
saying
about
not
halfway
enough.
there. And,
Yeah.
kudos to her for including it in the budget, but it's still only half the job. At FCA, 79% of our social work staff are female, 69% are black and brown folks, already low to moderate income folks that are pulling our kids out of the depths of mental health issues, opioid overdoses, and everything else. And This just adds insult to injury, quite frankly. And it continues to leave that population of working class folks on Long Island left behind.
No.
And so we're asking for the legislature to match what the governor did, to bring it up to at least 3.2%, so it matches CPI. And quite frankly,
I'm sure Senator Rivera has already revised some.
really critical, and we shouldn't have to do this every year. It should be indexed to CPI across the board. We shouldn't have to have this conversation every year. I shouldn't have to come up and bang the drum looking for staff money.
Maybe they just want to see you every year.
You might be alone in that. I don't get that a lot, so thank you.
Child care, all right?
Yes, good afternoon, Senator. Thank you again for taking this opportunity to see me again. So today I actually want to discuss universal preschool for all. Nassau and Suffolk County needs universal preschool for all, because what's happening is that the city have children that are able to go to universal preschool for all. Nassau County.
You talking about 3K?
Pre-K, yep.
Pre-K or 3K?
3K. 3K. We don't have it in Nassau and Suffolk counties. Daycares are closing. Parents are having to look for alternate childcare because they have to have their kids in daycare maybe later hours. And with the high immigration population, it's very difficult for parents to get any kind of childcare because they can't get Nassau County or Suffolk County subsidy. So what are parents to do? They put them in safe places or their second choices. So by having universal pre-K for all, it makes it even better for the children. Why? Because we get to do early intervention, and it normally stops at the ages of 3 years old. So what happened to these children that's not getting evaluated for a whole entire year until they're actually in school? These kids are delayed. So we're asking for you to please consider putting money in for Nassau and Suffolk County for universal pre-K for all.
So, just a couple of years ago, we were able to secure pre-K for Long Island, right? And what we got from that, school districts need more capacity to do all of this. The money is out there. They just don't have the infrastructure built as of yet. It's going to take some time to get it to a level where we can actually start doing the 3K part. They're still trying to get used to the pre-K that we funded. So it's going to take some time. I've got a 5-year-old. My wife and I, we have to juggle, and we're blessed to have both sides of the family take my little one in when we have to run around, but that's not the case for everyone. So completely get it, but it's just a capacity issue at the school districts right now.
But you have the child care centers that have the availability, because I can give you a perfect example. As you know, I'm a daycare owner.
Yes.
7,000 square foot, and I have empty spaces. Why do I have empty spaces when there's children out there that are not getting the type of care that they need? I have people that are non-documented that come to the child care all the time, and hurtfully sometimes I have to say, you know what, I can't watch these kids, but I end up watching them and getting paid in cereal because we do have the available space, and there are other daycare centers that's in the area and other providers that are open to taking these kids too, but it's working with it in the school district. So, there is room that is available, but unfortunately, we need to be able to get the funds to these places to be able to do it, and not just depend on the school district. Why not use the private sectors as well?
I know some school districts do contract out. It all depends on what that specific, entity wants to do at that point. I've had conversations with superintendents about this. It's up to the board, and as to who they contract out with. So there's a lot. Yeah, there are a lot of regulations to this that it's complicated. It's not a simple answer, but I completely get what you're saying.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Let's get to food insecurity. Randy?
I know that food insecurity is an important issue for you and for Monica. It's a cornerstone issue for many people. Our issue, we have two, the Healthy School Meals for All, where we're looking to make sure that all students in New York State have access to breakfast and lunch at no cost. And so it was partially funded last year, but on Long Island there are 146,000 children that have been left behind. And so we're hoping for $210 million, which would then feed all children in New York State, so that nobody is left behind. It's an important issue. The next issue is about SNAP. This is a bill that's in response to the end of the pandemic area SNAP program and the emergency allotments. This particular program would give additional funds to recipients so that they would get the difference between their SNAP award and $95. And so it would make them whole up to $100. And so it sort of rounds it out. It's an important bill for a lot of families that are only getting $5 and $10 on SNAP to bring them up to a higher level.
And then shifting over to higher education, the potential for TAP expansion. Jessica?
So, Senator, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today. Today I'm going to be speaking about TAP expansion, and there's going to be 3 different pieces to this. Currently, I'm here advocating for the increase in TAP eligibility. It currently stands at $80,000 and below people are able to qualify for TAP, but those who make above $80,000 are left without that assistance. That is crucial to people being able to have higher education and having access to that. So today, a couple bills that I'd like to put on your radar that are in the Senate and the Assembly is S05271 and A03064. Another piece of this is the increase of the minimum TAP awards, which currently sits at $500. That leaves students for only $250 per semester, and this covers books and other expenses. We're asking for that to be raised to $1,000 so that students can have $500, and that's just the minimum, so we could take it up from there. But bills that would be in your purview for this, that is kind of like that is in the Assembly, is A08089, and one other piece of this is graduate TAP. We're asking for the restoration of that. We used to have grad TAP back when, and it currently it was rescinded, and we're asking for grad TAP so that students who are looking to go to graduate school, like myself, are able to have that assistance.
Absolutely. Listen, I'm, as a chair of consumer protection, I do a lot of work on student loan debt. Just last year to the budget, we stopped tuition hikes at SUNY and CUNY colleges, and we're going to continue to push in the budget. Like the governor has one plan and we have another plan, and it's the budget dance that we're going to go through. So just stay tuned. All right, but you have many advocates on your side pushing for the governor to do the right thing.
How about that she's a student and she just presented as beautifully as
Very nice. Where do you go?
I go to Malloy, which I
Malloy. Yes,
I was gonna throw that in there as well. So I don't know if you remember last year at the CICU, I met with one of your members of the staff. I don't believe it was you, but we were able to also advocate for TAP along with other schools from Long Island. So.
Great.
At the university or
no, here actually.
Here. Okay. Nursing student?
No, actually political science. I'm looking to go into this area.
No, I've got family that are all nurses. So that's great. That's great.
We have a slew of infrastructure projects that we we care about. Half our group is, we had to split up our group today.
Yeah.
Don't enjoy that, but we understand. So they're not here to speak to it, but Sunrise Highway Traffic Calming Lois already mentioned that. Hempstead Sewers are any way we can get additional dollars for that centralized.
Hempstead Sewers?
Yeah. To try to get some additional dollars into Hempstead.
Did we get the money for that, or?
I think the first phase. They got some, but
No, I remember this. The mayor was telling me about this situation. Yep.
Yeah. So, I'm sure you're on top of it, and you're already committing to it. So I don't want to go on and on. Centralized stuff, obviously, Suffolk County. I was from Monica, and then so the extensions, and then obviously there's some traffic calming we want to see in Valley Stream, and then we need phase 3 and 4 of Mastic and Shirley sewers. We also have a tricky situation out in Huntington Station regarding the land transfer.
Yes, there's a land transfer issue on New York Avenue that I know Senator Gorin and Assemblyman Stern were working on when Gorin was here. It's an issue between the DOT and negotiating with the town of Huntington, and it seems to be at a standstill. and we would love for that to be resolved so they can the town that had some projects there slated. But it's a money issue. The DOT is saying that it's appraised at this value, but the town is saying another number that they have.
Lower or higher?
It's lower than what the DOT wants, and it seems to be literally at like a multi-year standstill. So I don't know if there's something you can.
Who is the senator that represents that area? Is that Montero?
That's Montero right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was Gorin. We were working through Gorin. We were working for Marcelino. This has been multiple years.
Multiple years.
Really?
Yeah, Marcelino got the deal done, and then it got undone. Then Gorin got it back on track, and now we don't know where the hell it is.
It's Matera and
Should Monica
Keith Brown.
You're taking notes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to let everyone know the senator is at the Environmental Conservation Committee meeting.
Oh,
They're going over all the bills, and she also has her own that she is hoping people will sponsor or co-sponsor. So I am here, on behalf of her, but I am taking notes.
Yeah. Great. All right, she will handle that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's another.
And
that's another DRI community.
Huntington.
Where is that?
Huntington is a DRI community. We got the 10 million, and they put together a panel, and it's in process now. But this land transfer issue seems like either the DOT is not budging for some reason with the town.
They're difficult.
And yeah.
Well, and also because the number one thing the community came up with was traffic calming on Route 110. We had the press conference there about the dangers of that road.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is the state economic development funds are prioritizing walking there, but the state's transportation department's not. So it's like you can't, because you want more housing, you want more activity. So it's like you got to reconcile your policy priorities. You either want it to be a speedway where everybody just gets in their cars and drives around, or you want it to be a real downtown community. You got to sort it out. And it's one agency saying one thing, the other agency's obstinate and doing the same thing. So we got to get them to the DOT to get them unstuck.
Absolutely. And it's over the value of the land. That's really all it comes down to. What is the number so we can actually go forward?
And the road design.
And the design, yes, Eric.
Yes. I'm sorry. Did anybody else have any? I think we covered most things on our end. Anything you wanted to share with us? I mean, I know your priorities. Or you heard of all. Thank you for listening to.
Yes,
thank you for the concern. Let's give the senator a hand. Let's give. Thank you.
Listen, Eric, you've been doing an amazing job in bringing everyone together. This isn't like a Democrat or Republican issue. Right. This is an issue for all Long Islanders, whether it's clean water, affordable living, making sure that we've got adequate funding for people that have so much need. You're bringing everyone together, so thank you. And I will do what I can the next 10 months to fund and to direct state government agencies to do what they're supposed to be doing. All right, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to miss you.
Oh,
Yeah.
So what we want to do is just so you guys know who's in the house. I'm sure you've noticed a larger gathering this year than in some previous years. So we're going to do rapid fire, just name and affiliation, just so you know who's with us. But again, my co-host, Eric Alexander.
Hey, guys.
And we'll just start from here. And even if you're staff with the assembly members, please introduce yourselves.
I'm David. I'm an intern for Assemblyman Roth.
All right, so let's give David a hard time.
I'm Caleb. I'm here on behalf of Assemblyman Stefano.
There he is.
Hey.
Oh, okay, great. Have a seat. Okay, we're going to start over here.
Debbie Cabinet, Specialized for the Coalition Good Neighbors, and Vice President CS School Board.
Lino Silva, Bishop Long Island.
Imran Ansari, Long Island Federation of Labor.
Jeff Reynolds, Family and Children's Association.
Lauren Wagner, Long Island Arts Alliance.
Robin Silvestri, Save the Great South Bay.
Rita Scatoro, Huntington Chamber of Commerce.
Ken Patrick Johnson, Green Lawn Civic.
Lorena Griffith, Hempstead Village Trustee.
Karen Montalbano, Baldwin Civic Association.
Ivor Ryder, Merritt Chamber and Wandsworth Chamber.
Louis Vasquez, Long Island Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and National Health.
Greg Bay, Island Harvest Food Bank.
Randy Sugar-Dresner, Island Harvest Food Bank.
Randy gets choked up at these meetings.
Look at all these great people here.
Brandy Watson, Hempstead Community Land Trust.
Genya Grant, Greater Wyandines Chamber of Commerce.
Bob White, Hempstead Community Land Trust.
Shifting over here in the back.
I'm Nick Feldman. I'm a legislative intern for Senator Rody.
Lois House, Freeport Chamber, and Friends of Freeport.
Jessica Gilbert from Canal Malloy.
Neil Lewis, also with Malloy University.
Butch Murray, President of Greater Garden Heights Civic Association.
Ray Gunner, Children Foundation.
Leo Shaughnessy, Riverhead Chamber of Commerce.
Nicholas Garcia, Long Island Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Jordan Christensen, Citizens Campaign for the Environment.
Nakia Bradley, Vision Long Island. Linda Henninger, Kings Park and Vision Long Island.
Bob Kern, Councilman in Riverhead, representing Suffolk and Nassau County Alliance of Chambers, about 100,000 businesses.
Great. So, all right, so, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry.
Gina Line, FTF
She's a celebrity.
And I need you all again.
And if we could just have our assembly members introduced, because I know, and/or staff. We'll start with Assemblyman Thiel.
Assemblyman Fred Thiel, 1st Assembly District. I represent the towns of Southold, East Hampton, Southampton, a little bit of Brookhaven, and the independent nation of Shelter Island.
I am State Assemblyman Steve Stern. I represent the 10th Assembly District, which is parts of Huntington, parts of Woodbury, and Plainview.
Jarek Gandolfo, I represent the 7th Assembly District, which is mostly the town of Islip, a little bit of Brookhaven, all on the South Shore from Bay Shore to East Patchogue.
And Adrian's home, because
Yes.
that's my district.
And yes, my favorite constituency.
You want to find out like you?
You know, I want everyone to know you're on camera. So can you say it again? No.
My favorite.
And it's not because it's a got you anything. It's just we're going to use it for social media and things like that, just so everyone knows. But I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Ari Brown, Assembly District 20, South Shore, Long Island, from Inwood all the way to Point Lookout, Barrier Islands, and so on. You're going to see something very unique here. You're going to see all the assemblymen get up for the ladies that are standing, and we're going to give our chairs, right, guys?
Assemblyman, it's really good for photos, so can
Yeah?
you sit
All
down?
right.
Sorry.
He's a classic guy. He donated his kidney.
But thank you. Tomorrow he donates a kidney.
I already did it, only got one left.
Yeah,
you gotta keep that one.
Keep it. Yes. Drink cranberry juice.
Ed Rod, 19th Assembly District, parts of the town of Hempstead and North Hempstead.
Doug Smith, the Fighting 5th District, Holbrook and Rockhackama in the town of Brookhaven and Islip.
Jake Blumenkrantz, the 15th Assembly District, to the northern half of the town of Oyster Bay.
Mikhail Salaj, 22nd Assembly District, Elmont Valley Stream, Franklin Square, and the home of the Islanders. Too. And thank you for not bringing the snow.
Big win.
And Chuck Levine, AD 13, Northeast Nassau.
And thank you for hosting us today. and
Our
your moment
great
to.
pleasure. Thanks
I
for
just want-
being here.
Did we miss you, or
Justin O'Tell from Assemblyman Stern's office.
what about you? Did we miss you?
Oh, well, my name is Samantha. I'm an intern for Kimberly John Pierre. Represents Assembly District 11.
District 11, great.
Kevin Carmody, Legislative Director for Assemblyman John Pierre.
Nice brain. Eric?
Well, sure. So, thank you again for taking the time with us. So again, this is 16 years we've been doing this. Many of you have been part of prior meetings. We really try to do rapid fire roundup of issues that we've met with Senate. We're meeting with the governor's office in a bit. But really, we have a consensus on these issues. A lot of this is mom and apple pie stuff, and within the context of, you guys all know the recent study that showed $14 billion that we give to the state that we don't get back. The priority really is to try to get some of those dollars back in maybe some of these areas, right? So let's start with economic development. I'm going to toss it over, just start with Louis Vasquez to just give us a sense of the marketing locally and things we could do.
On behalf of the small business in Long Island, we're just trying to see if we can get our fair share when it comes down to the marketing dollars. And that's one of the issues that we have with our chambers. We need all the support we get it. Even after COVID, anybody thinks that chambers have all this kind of money. We don't. We don't have staff, so it's very difficult to continue the agenda and keep the economic boom with the small businesses. We know that small business in this country is the backbone of our country and our communities. But all the support we can get from all the federal and beyond, we would love to have your support. That's in a nutshell.
Thank you, Louis. So next item we want to get into, let's do the MWBE support package. Where's Genya? Genya Grant?
Thank you for having us today. We here advocate for small business, but also our MWBEs. We support legislation and efforts that increase participation, utilization, prompt payment for MWBEs, but also no discrimination in procurement, and also not penalizing women and others for transferring some of their operation to someone else. Doesn't mean that they don't own the business, so clarification on those certification efforts, and then also extending compliance with MWB to projects that receive public funding. We're also supporting a reauthorization of Executive Law 15A. So there's a comprehensive set of bills, but there's 12 that focus on a variety of issues that are important to MWBEs.
Thank you, Kenya. Getting into the tax-deferred IRA accounts has been an issue that we've supported for a lot of years, and the Suffolk County Alliance of Chambers has spearheaded this initiative. Bob Kearns, representing Suffolk County today. On that one, real quick.
Yeah, sure. So this has been around for 14 years, and basically it's
counting.
been...
Yeah.
What?
And counting.
And counting.
So it's tax-deferred IRA accounts for small businesses, and I mean, if you look at unemployment, you look at seasonal businesses, like what you're paying in unemployment, et cetera, seasonal businesses. This gives the businesses an opportunity to put that money in a tax-deferred account and use it when they need to use it. And it's a real simple solution without going crazy.
Yeah, no, thank you. We've been trying to get, I know Assemblyman Stern has been taking leadership on that, thank you. And we just hope it can get moving this year. It's passed the Senate sometimes, and then sometimes it doesn't. And it's just, we're trying to figure that one out. It seems like it would help. It would have helped us through coronavirus, you know? So thank you guys on that one, but we can get a vote this year. So New York State DRI, we just want to say in the New York Forward Grant Program, those programs are really important to our downtowns. Just going around the room, Central Islip has been supportive of that. Baldwin, these are community leaders that has been supportive of that. Where's Huntington State? Kings Park. Huntington. So just really, we support these initiatives.
Westbury.
Riverhead. Liz,
Westbury.
Yeah, Westbury also. Yeah, and communities that we don't have here today. So really the key is one of our themes is keeping dollars in local communities, bring the dollars down, and that's really the best use of a lot of this stuff, a lot of these funds. So we'll move into transportation. Now, bus funding for NICE and Suffolk County Transit. We really don't always get our fair share. Imran, I know you've been supportive.
To ensure that there aren't route cuts, both for the union members that keep the NICE bus system, the Suffolk Transit systems operational, and the community members that rely upon them, we're asking for $20 million for each county to continue to keep NICE bus and Suffolk Transit operational.
Thank you, Imran. Next issue is we have a real problem, really an epidemic of dangerous roads. And it's not just about sociopaths that drive and people that are high and people that are drunk. It's about the design of the roads that reduce speed, and New York State DOT can do a much better job designing roads that are safer. Gina, Deer Park Avenue, right? Where Lois and you guys, Sunrise Highway, right? Karen, what's happening on Sunrise Highway?
So
somebody got killed just the other day.
Yep.
Yeah, and so one in Valley Stream, from Winbrook to Freeport, never mind all the crashes that are along there, all the development that's coming in. We have a lot of transit-oriented development coming in, which means people are going to be on foot having to cross this, what's basically 6 lanes on foot. And we really need to figure out a way to make that safe for everybody who has to cross. The people from the south have to go north to the Long Island Railroad that parallels it. So it's really important that we figure this one out.
And so, to contrast the transportation of $11 billion going to East Side Access, and we're just asking for $50 million to go to Long Island roads to try to improve. We've done 20 walking audits with AARP, who's one of our partners here. Those are just some of the roads that we've identified that are incredibly dangerous, and most of them are state roads. So New York State Department of Transportation needs to step up.
I'm going to write a Representation Act. It's simply an effort to get more representation within the MTA. We support that. And I'm going to toss it over to Environment and Energy, Adrian.
Well, you guys hear from me all the time, but I think one of the main things we want you to know is it's not just us crazy environmentalists, supporting things for clean water. It's all of these wonderful people with small businesses and Chamber of Commerce and and social service organizations. So as you know, our ask this year is to restore the water infrastructure funding in the budget that the governor has proposed to cut in half. But the second thing that we really, really also need you to do is to pass Assemblyman Thiel's bill, which allows for an expanded 1/8 of a cent sales tax in Suffolk County. We want to thank you for...
And Senator Martinez.
And Senator Martinez, yep, but you in the Assembly. But yes, and we want to thank you for, I'm sure this aided your decision to leave the Assembly after the last 3 years, what we put you through. We know it wasn't easy, but we'd like to get it done, if possible, by Earth Day, because it's not just passing the state bill, then the legislature has to have another public hearing, and then we have to agree on language, and then we have to do public education to make sure the public votes the right way. So there's a lot of work ahead of us, but we want to thank you guys for all your wonderful support on the environment. So I'm going to leave it at there, and then we can go on to other issues, because they do hear from me all the time, Eric.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. So let's do Housing and Human Services. We have 3 items on housing. We want to see our fair share of affordable housing funds, because developers that do affordable housing can tell us they're stuck two years behind with the HCR, and so that's too long when you have a lot of projects underway. So we want to get our fair share there. We do support the governor's pro-housing initiative that's incentive-based, and again, we still continue to oppose mandates. I want to thank everyone around the table that in Assembly who is opposed to mandates and to overruling local zoning. That was incredible leadership that you guys took. But we want to get to solutions now. So one of the great examples of innovation in housing is our land trust. I'm not sure, we got 3 people from the land trust. I'm not sure which one wants to jump in. But Brandy, you're in?
Brandy,
Yes.
go ahead, please.
Brandy's saying Patricia, Patricia's saying Brandy. Can we just introduce Assemblywoman Jean-Pierre has joined us?
Yes.
Everyone? Okay. Hi.
Okay. Affordable housing obviously has been a topic of conversation for many decades, many. One of the tools that we offer as a community land trust is affordable home ownership. That's vastly different than renting. It is a long-term affordability and sustainable program. We have built our capacity over the last 3 years to start to build our first property. We cover all of Nassau, the town of Hempstead, which is important because now we're able to give our clientele a choice of where they live. We're not the only CLT on Long Island, obviously. There's the Uniondale Community Land Trust, and also there is an arm of a CLT with the Long Island Housing Partnership. What we're looking for is assistance and support in bringing in subsidies so that we can reduce what we sell these properties for. Long Island obviously is high priced, starting at $500,000. How many low to moderate income individuals can afford to pay that? Our properties will start at $300,000 or below if we can manage that. And the land itself will stay with us so that we will remain with the homeowner in perpetuity through any loss of job that they may experience, death in the family, loss of income, whatever the case may be, and we can step in to assist. My name is Brandy Watson. I'm with the Hempstead Community Land Trust. Thank you.
Can I just say, I love that because I think home ownership builds the middle class.
Absolutely.
I think home ownership is still important,
Yes,
for housing.
generational wealth is an opportunity for all, and it should be. Just because you're low income and only able to pay $1,500 per month for rent, you can't pass that to your heirs. A home you can.
Love it.
Thank you.
Love it, thank you. And so in addition to the innovation of that, we still recognize that there are people that can't reach that threshold, and that's why we support, I think there's bipartisan support for affordable housing vouchers, which is similar to the Section 8 program, only a state version of it. And we'd love to see that move forward because there's a lot of working class people that are desperate in need and struggling to find housing. So,
Eric, can we just also
Yeah.
welcome
Oh, sure.
Assemblyman Ramos? Thank you so much for joining us, Assemblyman. Okay, go ahead.
So let's go to mental health and human service workforce. Jeff Reynolds.
Right in front of you.
I'm like, where is he?
So it's no secret that we have a mental health crisis amongst our kids in New York State, especially on Long Island. We've got an opioid crisis where fentanyl continues to take out our residents left and right. The governor, in her proposed executive budget, included a 1.5% cost of living increase for frontline staff. That's wonderful. It's a great down payment, but it doesn't even keep up with CPI. I currently at FCA have 40-something open positions because people don't want to come and endure the heartache and the low wages that we offer them. And so we have waiting lists for virtually all of our services. There's a workforce crisis happening in the state. This is one way to fix it. The other thing I'd add is, getting an addition from the legislature to bring it up to CPI would be great. Indexing it each and every year so I don't have to keep coming back and saying the same thing year after year would be a step in the right direction. I would also say that when we talk about who's doing the work, 79% of our staff is female, 69% are people of color. So these are working class folks who have put aside their own needs and the needs of their own kids to care for other people's kids. The least we can do is support them as they do that.
Are you guys impressed with how succinct we've gotten this year? Okay.
We're keeping it moving.
Yeah.
If only it wears off on us.
All right, let's get to child care, Clarona.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Childcare, one of the things that I want to discuss is that we need universal preschool for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. The reason why we need universal preschools for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds is because Nassau and Suffolk County does not have it. However, in the city they do. And with high rents, it's very difficult for parents to find safe places to keep their children. And what happens is that without having universal preschool for everyone, is that when a child turns 3-year-old, they're no longer getting early intervention. So being that they're not getting early intervention, that's a child that's sitting at home. Not to mention the fact that we now have an increase of non-documented population. So what happens to these children? Where are they sitting? Where's the safe place for them? So by having 3-year-old and 4-year-olds, having funds available for them, it makes it easier for parents to put their children in a safe place. Keep in mind that we cannot use county subsidy for these children, so they do need a place to be. So that's why we're asking for funding for Nassau County and Suffolk County, universal preschool for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. This is definitely a need. Thank you.
Thank you, Corona. All right, so let's get to food insecurity. Randy Dresner.
Thank you very much. Look, I know that we have a lot of support on this issue. Food is a right that we all have and we all share. The Healthy School Meals for All is, there's a Senate bill which provides breakfast and lunch for all students in New York State. There are statistics that show that when all students receive food in school, all children do better in school, and that's been proven. And so we're looking for $210 million to ensure that all students have access to food. On Long Island right now, there are about 146,000 children that are not included in this. And so we want to make sure that we could include everybody in this. And I want to ask my colleague Greg to speak to the other.
The other bill is the SNAP minimum benefit bill. Right now, the federal SNAP minimum benefit is $23. The bill at the state level would provide for the difference between somebody's federal benefit and $100. So it's $23, you get the difference up to $100. If somebody was getting $95, they get $5 to get to $100. This is in response to the SNAP emergency allotments ending after the pandemic. The issue for us is not that the emergency allotments, which we knew to be temporary, were ending, but that going back to the original SNAP benefits, we just know they were too low in the first place. And this bill is a step in the right direction to provide more food, more money in people's pockets to spend on food with their choice to help themselves and their family.
So let's get on to higher education. TAP expansion is something that a lot of folks can impact a lot of people on Long Island. Neil Lewis and Jessica.
Yeah. Hi, Assembly members. So TAP is a very important program in New York State. It's existed for 50 years now. Many people in this room probably took advantage of it when going to college. Right now, however, because the numbers for eligibility were set 25 years ago and have not changed, many fewer students going to college are able to take advantage of TAP than was the case years ago. So we think this is unfair and that these numbers should be changed. Right now, the cutoff is $80,000. So that means any student living on Long Island where their parents are making more than $80,000, they don't get the $250 a semester from TAP. And so this is important because it's basically key to kind of keeping them going while they're in school. So we're fighting hard on this issue, and the student government at Malloy is very much engaged and has been writing letters. And we really urge you to take a look at the criteria for the cutoff level and some of the other aspects of TAP.
So I would just like to take a moment to thank each and every of the assembly members that are here today, that are here listening to our calls. When it comes to higher education, we're asking for TAP expansion. Neil mentioned a couple very valuable points, but I would just like to throw out there a couple of bills that we're looking to get your backing for, and a couple assembly members have given their support. When it comes to TAP eligibility, raising the threshold from $80,000 to $125,000. We have our bills in the Senate, which is 05271, and in the Assembly 03064. And when it comes to when it comes to raising the minimum TAP award from $500 to $1,000, we have the bill in the Assembly, which is A08089. And we'd also like to throw out there graduate TAP, which would help a number of students get those doctorate degrees, get those master's degrees, and be able to afford a better education.
On that last point, 10 years ago, graduate students could get TAP, but now they're ineligible for really no logical reason.
To save money.
So we urge you to help us with these changes, seeing that TAP hasn't changed and it stayed stagnant since 1999.
It's the 50-year anniversary. Maybe this is a good year to update the program.
Your program should be updated once every 50 years. That's our motto.
Something more.
Thank you.
So, all right, so let's get into infrastructure projects, Adrian. I know we have two updates from folks around the table, and then you may want to dive into some of these on the sewers. But for sure, we know Central Islip Sewer Extension, Debbie.
Yeah, we'd like to see the sewers that now go down Compton Avenue be expanded, but it also brings in a new problem because with the DRI project we have additional, and the other projects we have going on in Central Islip, additional 2,000 apartments that have gone in, which down Compton Avenue now has brought about 4,000 cars, which means we need to raise the tracks or lower the tracks so that, because right now it's between 2 and 7 o'clock, it makes it very difficult for the fire department and first responders to get through. It also has brought in, with the immigrant population coming into Central Islip, an average of 10 to 40 kids per week registering in our school district, so much so that for the past 3 years this has been going on that we now have to put 2 expansions into our district, one on the junior high to move our 9th graders down, and one on the elementary schools, because it's getting to be really stressful on a middle-class, lower-income school district. So we're looking for any support that we can get. Thank you.
So definitely on the sewers. Okay, good stuff. Just going to talk about Huntington Station land transfer. Ken or Vita, you guys are sitting next to each other. So.
You want to keep it on?
Sure.
Okay.
So in Huntington Station by the Long Island Railroad, there's 2 lots that the MTA and the Long Island Railroad owns, and there was discussion to transfer to the municipality for the downtown development. They've just spoken about, but nothing has ever been done. So can we do something to be able to use those lots? We just allocated the $10 million for the DRI, and we're not able to use that property because it's not part of the municipality. So that could have been used for affordable housing, all the projects, so there's no connectivity there. So we hope that you can help us move, the project along so that next time around, we could do something. I mean, at the projects, everybody was talking about housing and affordability, and that's probably the best one. It's right next to the railroad. People will walk to the train station, plenty of parking, so we really don't need those lots for parking.
Super convenient spot.
Yeah.
So, and really what it comes down to, and thank you, Assemblyman Stern, for your efforts on this so far, it's a negotiation issue between DOT and the town.
Yeah.
And it seems like DOT is not budging, so, any little push, we're Huntington, so, push we can do to get that going. I confident we can get it done. So, and I just wanted to piggyback real quick on what Clariona was saying. Being active in the community, childcare is an issue. So I definitely think that's the topic that should UPK should be prioritized. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Thank you, Ken. And so on the Huntington Station issue and many other roads, we have many dangerous roads, mostly on state roads.
That's another thing.
So that's Huntington Station. We can go on and on. We talked about Sunrise Highway traffic calming, and also Valley Stream needs some assistance there, and there's a whole slew of them. So Adrian, maybe some other sewers you want to jump on?
You know, I really love when someone says the same word sewers, they all look at me. This is the dream connection. But look, nothing brings people together like the issue of sewer infrastructure. And literally from one end of Long Island to the other. I mean, we have sewer connection needs going on in Long Beach City, as we do all the way out east Long Island. So this is why we're asking for the funding to not be cut. Our needs keep growing because the infrastructure keeps getting older, and that is, whether it's Mastic Beach, which we need 2 more parts of that infrastructure to be funded, whether it's Hempstead, Central Islip, Smithtown. We only had to pick a few because we can't do it all, so we've prioritized, but the list could be even longer. So we know that you know that, but we're going to continue just to accent that and have it be a roll. Thank you.
So I think that's our agenda. So
Wait, I forgot one more thing. I have to say the words
Yeah.
extended producer responsibility, the law that reduces solid waste and increases recycling. Again, I wanted to point out it's not just an environmental bill. Local government is supporting it, as well as businesses and civics and diversity of constituency throughout the state. And we're asking you guys to vote for that when it comes to the assembly floor. Thank you.
And some communities we haven't listed that want sewers in Deer Park, maybe Gordon Heights, So there's a lot of communities that want traffic calming and safer streets too, and a lot of communities that need affordable housing and are trying to figure out how to fast track some of this stuff. And a lot of communities don't want to support their small businesses. So we've got a lot of main streets here, many who couldn't make on the bus, but we try to be as close to your constituents as possible in the work we do. We're not top down, we're bottom up, and we're trying to bring resources down to the community, and we need your help. So with that, it's Adrian's meeting.
Please
Turn it
tell us
over.
what you think,
Yeah.
but we really want to generally say again, thank you today for showing up.
Yeah,
Thank you for listening. Since Long Island gets the invoice, we need Long Island to have a voice. And that's what today is really all about.
That's a good one.
Adrian, thank
You heard it all day. Why, yes.
So let me simply say this. We're all in elected office going to use our constitutional and statutory authority to forbid you from thanking us. But we thank you. One of the great challenges that we have on Long Island is that we are very balkanized.
Yeah.
We have so many different communities, so many separate municipalities. But the fact of the matter is, we're stuck with 2 huge counties. So I want to thank, and I'm sure I speak for my colleagues, the Long Island Lobby Coalition for bringing both those counties together. We have far more muscle and far more authority if we stand together. Ari, thank you. I have to give Ari $2 for leading the applause. That's the arrangement we have. But thank you. And we will fight for all this stuff.
And I just want you to know, when we decide what we're going to talk on, we have meetings, we hash it out. We don't always agree, probably much like the assembly, but
Stuff less gets pushed off the table.
Yeah, stuff gets pushed off and this is what we do agree on after meaningful and substantive conversations. So we hope it makes your job easier to figure out, okay, what do people agree on? And this is a pretty long list with a pretty diverse coalition. So.
Can I make just a comment?
Please do.
So
Jump in.
I'm happy that home ownership's a priority. I represent Ronkonkoma, and we have the Ronkonkoma Hub. And while I'm excited that people are willing to pay $4,000 a month to live in Ronkonkoma, that's not affordable. That's not affordable. And I think we need to prioritize actual affordability. And if we're putting money in, home ownership's a great thing because instead of building up a company, it builds up a family and it builds up a community. So just get off my
I like that.
soapbox.
Instead of building a company, it builds a family.
The feedback we've gotten on home ownership and condo stuff, digging into it, is two things the state can do. One is regulating the banking community because they don't do the construction loans, or they don't get the mortgages in for folks. So that's one thing. Secondly, the industry is overwhelmed with regulation by the New York State Attorney General's office. So if there's a way to streamline that, those are two areas you guys could dive into, and maybe there'd be more opportunities that might be more affordable. Sorry, just jumping in.
Assemblyman Ramos?
Yes, sorry.
I also would like to thank everybody. You guys have been the champions in our community for many years, and you do a lot of the work that helps us be able to facilitate what we do over here. I just want to comment on the housing issue, so you just know my position, and we're not working against each other. I was very happy when the governor originally came out with this plan, transportation-based affordable housing. I just can't. We all know that Long Island is one of the most segregated places in the country, right? And I just can't fathom that every white community, that it's not feasible for them to have transportation-based housing. All right, so then the discussion turned to incentives. And I know it's hard to look at other people's perspectives, but as a person of color, to me it's a slap in the face as a taxpayer that my tax-paying money needs to go to bribe a municipality not to discriminate against them. Right, so I don't, I know that some advocates started buying into this incentive program and all this other stuff. The effect that this housing program would have on Long Island is to diversify. It would not have too much impact in my community because we're already saturated with apartments there. What it will do is give people and low-income earners and people of color choices in wealthy neighborhoods to live, which will diversify Long Island. But if we keep throwing monkey wrenches into it because we're responding the pressures of that, not in my neighborhood. Yeah, we want to do this. It's a great idea, but it just doesn't happen to work in my town. Across the state, we hear this. So we need advocates to stand up on what the impact of is and keep it true to the intention of what we want to do with the housing and not cave to political pressures because people don't want to deal with it in their district.
And there's 10,000 units of housing coming through the process in municipalities across Long Island. So what we need to do is all rally around getting those approved. And I think that's the kind of stuff we all can agree on, is getting support for those projects in all communities from literally every single town.
I have a question for Assemblyman Stern. What is some, I guess, maybe you can speak on behalf of your colleagues, what are some challenges that the delegation is facing, the Long Island delegation, who we value you so much, but what are some challenges that you're facing as a team that you can discuss?
Well, we always looked at it as a bipartisan meeting here.
Well, first of all, let me say that that regardless of what one might read in Newsday or put on, the news channel of one's choice, we all like each other. We all know each other a long, long time, and at the end of the day, we are all Team Long Island. And so I think everybody agrees we would all be very proud of that to be able to say. So from a personal relationship perspective, not only is that not a challenge, it's one of our great positives that we have up in Albany. But in terms of the biggest one that we talk about these days is education and education funding and how we educate our children. And so over and above just the substance of where the money comes from, who it comes from, and how we spend it on our education system, is this other challenge, this unspoken yet very loudly spoken challenge that we are Long Island. And that there is more than a chicken in every pot, and that every child has the access to an opportunity to participate in a world-class education, and we choose to tax ourselves accordingly in that regard. And when it's time to come here to make sure that we get our fair share, well, that is open to debate depending on who you're speaking to. What is our fair share? And so in a world where education spending actually goes up every year, not all of it, and certainly not the pro rata share, not the fair share, comes back to fund education on Long Island. So I think substantively, that's the biggest challenge that we face on a regular basis. I know for me in my office, it's a conversation that we're having 50 times a day, every day, particularly now. I know everybody else is having that discussion. It is a perennial challenge. And many of the items on this list, and we can all go through the things that we are each doing in our own rights and working together and co-sponsoring and working on, but education and how we educate our children and where the money comes from to do that is something that we all share on a daily basis. So that's certainly the biggest one that I see.
Feedback, guys, from the agenda?
I have just a quick feedback on the agenda.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So, and it goes to my neighbors in Huntington Station, but it's always great to see so many of my good friends from all over Long Island. But Huntington Station I bring up to address a specific question that was asked, but in a way, many ways, to serve as a model for how Long Island needs to go into the future. The very first bill of substance that they gave me to pass when I first came up to Albany was the reauthorization of the clean water infrastructure. So I was pretty proud to do that because it was very meaningful, and so certainly something that we all are very concerned about to make sure that the funding isn't just restored, but that we can go up from there. But that meant something for Huntington Station. Because Huntington Station for decades was not able to grow, certainly in relation to the rest of our great town, because of the lack of infrastructure. And so to be able to bring back the millions of dollars that were necessary to finally, after all these decades, to put a shovel in the ground, which is now the key to the revitalization of Huntington Station, is something that we should all be proud of, but something that we should all be looking at as a model on how. Why do we get the DRI money? Because we had the promise of infrastructure coming in. Why are we able now to go back to DOT and say we need a whole bunch of work going on in the area? Because of the sewer infrastructure. It all really begins. It is the key to revitalization, to growth going forward. But to your point on the DOT, LIRR, MTA property. If you're not familiar with Huntington Station, the Huntington train station, it is this big, underutilized parking lot. It's where like the floats get loaded up, before a parade, once or twice a year. But that's basically it. It is state-owned property. And I bring it up because there is an answer to the question, but it also, again, serves as a model, particularly when it comes to innovative housing opportunities. Obviously, land and the expense of land. And I grew up in the greater Holbrook, Ronkonkoma area, and some of those numbers are big numbers. And so we all have a role to play there, particularly the state. Having had experience at the county level of the government, very involved with innovative affordable housing opportunities, and we did an awful lot at that level. That property is state-owned property. DOT is the agency that has been the lead agency on the negotiations. Well, it's enough of a challenge to get DOT to pave our streets. I'm not necessarily convinced that they are the best administrative agency to negotiate a land deal for affordable housing purposes. And that's been a big part of the challenge. So I have the bill that would authorize the land transfer that I had done when I first came here. But I now have a bill that would be modeled on the Suffolk County 72H program, which is the affordable housing program, which would essentially authorize the state to simply transfer the property to the town of Huntington and then take it from there for these purposes. So those are the kinds of things that we're working on, but again, those are the kinds of things that I think, for many of the issues on the list, might serve as a model for many of us to take a look at going forward in our own hometowns.
Thank you. Now you know what time it is, right? It's photo time.
Well, I don't know if anybody else had wanted to cover.
Oh, okay. I thought they were
I don't
leaving.
know if anybody else had.
Sorry,
to say
Eric.
anything. Yeah.
No, I just want to say thank you every year. I think the agenda is well enhanced and it's comprehensive, and we work well together. And there's a lot of us on the 8th floor from Long Island, right? It's me, you, Theo. So we appreciate you. And, welcome.
We appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
And look, I just want to say, you'll notice from this agenda, we don't come every year with this big agenda that's pie in the sky, that's these elite. These are like survival things.
Only
$100
billion.
Oh, well, but it's
we're losing $14 billion a year.
It's affordable housing. It's clean water. It's can we feed our kids when they go to school? What I mean is these are not, excessive things
Food,
or
paying people the right amount that deal with mental health.
You're right. Trying to help our kids who have mental health issues. They're basic survival needs, I guess is what I'm saying.
If only Long Island was a state. No, sorry.
If only Long Island.
We'll stop that.
or a country.
Hey, where's Governor Steve Levy when you need him?
He's a bit.
my constituents. Another great one.
It's your second favorite
I have a
constituent.
star-studded district.
Meeting got deported.
You have to edit that part out.
Any other assembly member want to chime in?
Yeah, what Doug said is that, it sounds funny, but it is true, you know. We are like our own state. We really don't care about Democrat or Republican, we're Long Islanders.
Yes.
Lived there
Exactly.
for almost 6 decades myself. We don't care about those issues. Unfortunately, the state is always very city-centric. Everything revolves around New York City, and that's where the money goes, even though we're basically footing the bill. So as long as we stick together, I think we can accomplish a lot. So thank you for getting us together.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, and can we just have a moment of sadness since it's one assembly member's last Long Island Lobby Coalition meeting, Assemblyman Field. So let's just say thank you for always
you,
being
Assemblyman.
here.
I don't think I've missed any of these.
No, you haven't.
Of these coalition meetings. Now, you know, I think what makes it easy for us, certainly in a bipartisan basis, is that for the most part, your agenda is our agenda. These are the things that we're already working on. And this isn't just a meeting that we have once a year and then we go all in our merry ways. We work together, and you know, we're all part, I think, of this agenda. And just the question that went to Steve about, you know, what is kind of the biggest challenge. I think the biggest challenge is always up here is for Long Island to tell its story. There's a perception of what Long Island is here. You know, the school aid is the perfect example, where we're perceived to be all of Long Island is wealthy, and you know that is not true, and I have to deal with that representing a large portion of the East End. People don't recognize that, for example, East Hampton High School or Hampton Bays High School, that the majority of the students are Hispanic. There's a perception that the East End is the lifestyles of the rich and famous because of the seasonal population, or the fact that, you know, the median income actually, according to the census, is actually lower than the rest of Long Island. Wow. People that live there year-round.
Really? Didn't know
So
that.
it's a continuing education process for us, because there's a lot of turnover up here, and you know, I think our challenge, I think, is to tell Long Island's story. And when you come up here, you help us tell that story. So we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
You know, can I just say one thing? I think it's really important to see that there's a thread that's weaved through so many of these issues. So when we talk about our low and moderate income neighbors, they're struggling with childcare, they're struggling to feed themselves, they're struggling with housing. They're the ones that are struggling in communities where it's unsafe to cross some of the streets or to get from one place to another. And so all these issues are tied together, and it's important because it impacts all of the people that we represent in the different businesses that we're in. And I have to tell you, just having been around the block a long time, it's just so great to sit here and know that we have 100% support in so many of these issues, that you actually care and you listen to us when we come to talk to you. So thank you for that.
On that note, photo session.
So what do we do?
Bill is the most effective recycling system that exists in New York State. And for years, it diverts hundreds of thousands of tons of waste and supports the livelihoods of thousands of essential workers. The independent recyclers or canners who pick up the bottles and cans that other people thoughtlessly discard, and the redemption centers and workers that provide that essential service for them so that that material can be handled at volume, at the scale that we need to really meaningfully address this crisis. Yet, the system and those who keep it going suffer from tremendous neglect. The amount that recyclers and redemption centers earn, set by the law, hasn't been updated in decades, while the cost of living climbs and climbs. Yes, redemption centers are closing in huge numbers, and canners are being pushed further and further to the margins. It doesn't have to be like this. With a few small changes, the bottle bill can be brought up to the contemporary standard that other states are already setting. New York is getting left behind. With a 10-cent deposit, participation is going to skyrocket. That's changed for 40 years would double. A higher handling fee would enable redemption centers to stay open and create new businesses, new green jobs. The state would get even more revenue from unredeemed deposits to the tune of $200 million. It just makes sense. The stakes are too high to delay any longer. New York must pass the bigger metal bottle bill and packaging reduction this year.
Every single one of our services. The cost of living increase built into the proposed executive budget was phenomenal. It was wonderful to see. It's a good halfway point because we're asking the legislature to actually bring that number up closer to CPI. It would be super helpful if that could be indexed to CPI each and every year. The reality is the folks we're talking about, the social workers we're talking about, who are disproportionately female and disproportionately people of color, have been underpaid for more than 50 years. This is our chance to make it right. The other two pushes I would make is the governor's made several announcements around mental health funding, which is absolutely phenomenal. To the extent that you can speed getting that money out the door, the suicide rate among kids continues to escalate almost on a daily basis, as do the fentanyl fatalities on Long Island. It's a public health emergency, and we should be treating it more like a public health emergency. So thank you for being here. Thank you for the cost of living increase. There's always more to do, and we're happy to have this out on the floor.
Another necessity is childcare for families.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. Do I need to?
Yes, you need it.
It's a big
In my teacher voice. First, I would like to thank the governor for actually putting $100 million into the budget for childcare. However, Nassau and Suffolk County still need funding because we need universal pre-K for all for our 3-year-olds and our 4-year-olds. What's happening is that parents are still having a hard time. Daycare centers are closing down. Why? Because we need universal pre-K. With the increase of non-documented population, what's happening is that these children now can't get any kind of subsidy because you can't use subsidy funds from any of the counties to be able to help provide childcare for them. So we're asking that you do consider putting more money into the budget for universal pre-K for all. Also keep in mind that children that are sitting at home, what happens when they turn 3 years old? Early intervention stops. So now these children have delay. So no one is paying attention to that. And inside the city, the children do get universal pre-K for all. But in Nassau and Suffolk County, our kids do not. And it's very costly for parents to have to choose between paying their rent, where they're getting $15 an hour, the average person. And when you think about that, that comes to maybe $24,000 a month. And at $1,500 to $1,400, that only leaves them with $980. No rent is paid, no food is paid, no nothing. So that's why we need universal pre-K for all. It's important for us to get this in Nassau, Suffolk County. 3-year-old and 4-year-olds need childcare. Thank you.
So another necessity is food.
So, ready? Ready? Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. So we're here asking for the healthy school meals for all universal school meals. Last year, we want to thank the government this year for her investment last year, a historic amount of $130 million to expand community eligibility provisions, which provided breakfast and lunch for about 360,000 or so students across New York State. Unfortunately, we believe the full amount is close to $220 million, and because that was not fully funded, there were about 140,000 students on the mountain who were not covered by the expansion. So we would ask that the governor's office please include that in the budget. And our other budget ask is the SNAP minimum benefit bill being carried by the Assembly Woman Gonzalez Ramos and Senator Richard May. This bill would provide the difference between someone's federal SNAP benefit and $100. Right now, the minimum SNAP benefit that you can get from the federal government is $23. So this bill will provide the difference between $23, $100, $95, $5, and we estimate that will cost about $70 million.
The TAP expansion. So for elementary, TAP has all the numbers to afford college, and unfortunately, since 1999, there hasn't been any changes to TAP to accommodate for the cost of living and for modern day life, essentially. And so we're just here trying to shed light on three pieces of the TAP expansion. One is increasing TAP eligibility, which would remove the threshold fee from $80,000 to $125. A bill that
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This is the sewer category.
Yes.
So thank you again, for your time. I know usually, I hope that wasn't, we wanted to be considerate of your stop time, but we also really want your feedback and questions as well. I know we were so dazzling that.
Thank you so much. And just for point of reference, for my title, the Human Services part of the presentation was most interesting and helpful for me. I just have a question on the child care funding ask. So I know in, I believe, Nassau County, there's a great partnership between the school districts and the local CBO child care providers in terms of making sure that they're in the pre-K conversation. Is there something similar happening in Suffolk County as well?
That's actually a great question that you actually asked. So
Speak in the mic, please.
That's actually a great question that you asked. I'm actually a daycare owner. So one of the things is that we have, both in Nassau and Suffolk County, we only have universal pre-K for 4-year-olds, but the 3-year-olds we do not have. And what happens is that with the school district, oftentimes a lot of the daycare providers do not get an opportunity to work with the children within the community. So daycare centers are closing down, regular child care centers are closing down because the partnership is not there. And we need to find ways to be able to help the families that actually need it. So we do need the funds for universal pre-K for all, giving parents their own option to choose where they want to go.
So ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest joining us. We want to come in and say hello. So Karen Kehoe, Secretary to the Governor.
I just want to say hello. I visited with some of you a few years ago. I see some familiar faces, June, of course. So I just, I'm a Long Island girl, Baldwin, went to Stony Brook, and I know. So I just want to say hello and thank you for coming. Your voices are really important to be heard here at the Capitol, and you have a great team here representing the chamber. And back to the show.
Thank you
so
Thank you. Just commenting back on what you said, I think, very supportive of the ask, but want ensure that we're also encouraging as much collaboration between our child care providers and school districts. So it's definitely something I will take back and work on.
Thank you.
But no, everything else, Dr. Reynolds, really on the workforce issues and, the COLA asks, we're very familiar with that, as well as the food insecurity asks. Very familiar with both the universal school meals and the minimum staff benefit asks. So thank you guys so much for being here and sharing with us today.
Any other thoughts about doing the TAP a little bit different, like Neil was suggesting? I'm not sure the education person is on. Oh, we don't? Okay, sorry. Probably why we don't.
Just wanted to say thank you for the proposal from the Economic Development Small Business Space. Just a couple of programs I just want to make sure are on your radar. One, in terms of the sort of shop local programs, we do have the marketing work program through Empire State Development. We also have through Empire State Development, various programs through I Love New Work. So if there are opportunities to sort of engage with Empire State Development, have to go with that facilitation. As it relates to Market New York, I do want to note that is one of the programs that is part of the co-housing communities. So I do encourage, if there are municipalities that are applying for that, co-housing certified. Article 15A, thank you for raising those issues. I'll certainly take that back with our team. It's something that's absolutely on our radar and we're considering that. And the other thing I want to mention is the Long Island Investment Fund, which is another fund that is another co-housing fund, but it's a fund that really looks at trying to encourage transformative projects on Long Island so that it can become the form of whether that's new job generating types of projects, but also it's now expanded to include residential projects. And so there's been, and it also includes some amount of infrastructure as well. So I encourage folks to take a look at that. It's something that I think we would love to see, great projects and great applications coming through from our state government. So thank you again for these proposals. I did have a question on the IRA, and this is the sort of the first time I've gotten into this issue, but I guess just curious in terms of how differentiating, I know kind of how an IRA works. There's obviously the federal tax piece of this. How have you guys thought about how the state tax and federal tax?
We had a federal version of the bill that we're trying to pass also, with that piece. So this was just related to the state piece. So I don't want to get too talk offline. Great. People who put this together for us. This actually came out of this week's study. Businesses allowed for us for them to be able to self-invest. It's related maybe to coronavirus and people that had niche, some capital that wouldn't need something so much. It's just a tool in the toolbox that we follow, maybe even a pilot.
Thank you.
Well, thanks.
I'm sitting next to you. Hi, I'm Adam Zaranko. I'm the Assistant Secretary for Housing, and I wanted to say thank you for the kind words about the Pro-Housing Communities Program. We've seen a lot of interest on the governor's proposal, and we recently celebrated the first certified communities, and interest is pouring in. And a lot of the communities have been expressing letters of interest have been on Long Island. So, that there is a lot of funding behind that, and the governor made that a priority in the housing space. So please continue to urge your communities to take a look at that. And there's lots of information on the website to support the expansion of supply housing. I have one question with respect to the community land trusts. Is that, I know that you're maybe in the nascent stages of looking at establishing a land trust, or do you have land trusts established? Do they serve certain communities, or is it for, is it countywide? How is that set up?
Good question. We are about to begin our very first project. And since in the last 3 years, we've decided as an organization to expand to the entire town of Hempstead to give our clients and home buyers the opportunity to choose where within the town they decide to live.
Yeah, I've had experience working with community land trusts, and I know that HCR has been looking at ways to create affordable home ownership and permanent affordability as well. And that's one of the agencies that I work with here as well. Certainly bring that back and probe more into some opportunities there as well. I do think there's programs that are out there, and I'm glad that you're working with some other nonprofit community development organizations, but I found this very helpful, so thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
My apologies again for being from the wrong side of the state. But again, Allison Bradley, the Assistant Secretary for Transportation. That's why thank you, Adrian, and all of you for being in the room today. This is why these conversations are just so important, because some of these things just weren't on my radar. The funding for, increasing funding for the NICE and the Suffolk County Transit is not on my radar, so thank you for raising this up to me. I really appreciate it. The safety of everybody who uses our roadways, utmost importance. Really trying to widen these conversations, having deeper conversations about them, how to improve pedestrian access, driver safety, dealing with, I won't put it as eloquently as you did, but dealing with some of the drivers on the streets. If you've got ideas on how to, not just, obviously infrastructure is super important, how the roads are is how people drive. If you got a wider road, people are going to drive faster because they have the sense that they can drive faster. So looking at that infrastructure, thank you for flagging that. If there are other ways in addition to that where we can work on a partnership and improving driver behavior, God, I would love to hear some ideas, because we really do have, it's the Wild Wild West out there. And we'd really love some more conversations, throughout the state on how to address those issues. And I wasn't familiar with the Rider Representation Act, so thanks again for flagging that. We're gonna take that back and take a deeper look at it. So again, these conversations are so super important. Thank you for bringing everybody to the table. Really appreciate that you're all here and talking to us about these issues that are so important, not just to you, but will have a wider implication across the state. So thank you.
Adrian over here saying, we're hearing people talk about sewers, but in my life, I hear about those all the time. There's a week I go by talking about wastewater, but a little bit of it, the governor has continued to make water funding particularly a priority, both the drinking water, the clean water side, and we understand that, pipes in the ground, while not the hottest topic all the time, but those aren't working, your city isn't working, your localities aren't working. People deserve safe water to drink when they turn on the tap. They should feel good giving that glass of water to, their family, to their child, even to their pet. They should also know when they flush the toilet that it will actually go somewhere and come back out. There's simple things that, I think people take for granted. It's not something we do here. The governor has made extreme improvements to how we actually fund water. One of the areas recognizing saying we want, less source contaminants. Actually, last week we went to no source contaminants in our water, but to increase the level of funding available from 60% to 70% of that project. And the communities in Long Island are very competitive. See that for good or bad reasons. But we'll flag sewer infrastructure programs that we've raised here that we do currently have around funding open. It's a total of $325 million, so that's the largest ever only state-funded, non-bond act supplemented round in history since we've been doing rounds of funding. So definitely really encourage communities from our chambers of commerce to any of our local governments, of course environmental groups that I talk all the time. Honestly, I guess I'm talking to Adrian. But really encourage people to apply if there are problems. That is a little thing called the community assistance team. We know grant writing is not easy. If it was, we would probably get way more applications, but we want applications. So we actually have resources now through our agencies that will come to the localities, do presentations from both our DOH, DEC side, and walk people through kind of grant application, and also the process of how to score well. So we're flagging that, and definitely welcome any further conversations or ways to connect any of the localities that we wish are great communications teams for the current funding round is in. But really appreciate you all being here, and really enjoying our environment on that.
Actually, can I ask a question?
Of course.
There's just clean water legislation, the budget was slashed in half in the current executive budget. So we're asking for that funding to be restored and possibly even extended to 600 million, which is statewide. It's not particularly slated for Long Island. And in comparison to that, I think it's $80 billion in projects that have been identified. 600 million is a drop in the bucket. So we're asking if you could put that on your to-do list.
No, I totally hear you there. The governor has actually committed $5.5 billion total for water funding, and definitely hear the concerns about, the fact that there's a decrease this year. But what we can commit to is that, while of course we're having communication, you're looking at the backlog of funds that we're getting out of the door so quickly, be it either due to the fact that what we call COVID happened, where there was a delay in spending, certain federal appropriations that we didn't know were coming in, but thanks to the leadership of, Chuck Schumer, we were able to get. So we are spending money that was not committed or maybe prudently saved, and making commitments that are larger than ever. With our emergency cabinet money, the amount going out for WIA, I have no doubt we just came out with the WQIP round, which is our highest round going out to. Another one will be the CFA. So definitely hear the concern there, something we'll take back, but we'll indicate that we are funding there. Our largest levels,
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, jeez. I didn't break it down.
Is that a budget item?
It's like, rather not. This was the next thing to take care of, so.
Oh, yes.
That's a deficit worker.
Yeah.
We're sitting here with
I work closely with Emily, so I don't have much to add in the human services role, but I do want to acknowledge what Gabriel raised about staff that unfortunately our colleagues in the education team weren't able to make it here today, but they apologize. And of course, I want back what you guys shared about staff and, happy anniversary. And, there have been some investments there in terms of expanding the part-time staff in the past couple of years that we think we're excited in. We've definitely going to look into what you shared today and that back to the education team. So thank you.
So I guess, yes, I got it. Thank you. Let me just, technology. So let's just round this up because I know you guys have to leave and we actually do have to catch a bus. Yes, very quickly. So thank you again. I want to reiterate again, you can see this agenda really is all about working class and the average people and how do we survive and how do we do it. How do we manage a life on Long Island where it is more challenging to live economically, but also with traffic and other things, but that's a sidebar. And how do we do that in a way that makes sense? And so when we come up with this agenda about, children daycare and TAP programs, which is, $250 for your books, these are not grandiose ideas, right? These are really bread and butter ideas to figure out how to live on Long Island in a sustainable way and have a quality of life where you can manage your finances, raise a family, and not do it in a way that you're afraid to drink the water and afraid to walk on the streets. So we hope that message came across, and we know you guys have a hard job. We know when we come asking for money, you are getting that from all parts of the state. But we do want to, what we've been telling others, and we'll be honest and tell you that we keep saying, Long Island gets an invoice, but now we need a voice. And so we come to you with our voice for the $14 billion that we generate into the state budget and needing some of it to come back to keep us going so we can generate more money next year and the year after into the state budget. So thank you again. And Eric.
Yeah, I just want to just kind of bounce on that too. Long Island is a difficult place. We're a community of communities. We're not really a top-down region. We are just the richness of what's around this table. It's represented in 100 business districts that we have. And in order to get things done well and collaboratively is to get into those communities and really listen here, build up trust in those communities. It's housing, economic development source. People around this table have that skill set. The groups around this table have that skill set. And we're excited that you are investing in the team on Long Island. I give a shout out to Steve and his team. It was really great. It was amazing. I'm sure you guys listen too, but we need more dialogues like this in order to get things right, build up the trust. And this mom and apple pie stuff, people say to us on the street, back to basics. Government should do the basics. And I think we've laid out for you some basics that can go a long way, building trust, and you guys are being successful, but our region being successful, and our community being successful. So with that,
Yeah, thank you again, and I have to say too, we really do appreciate Stevens' responsiveness and just appreciate the way you're always there to answer the question and to listen. Thank you very much. We do appreciate that. All right, we got to roll. Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Giglio, for the purposes of a introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for allowing my guests to come to the floor today. If I could ask my colleagues in the back to please don't block them, my guests, so that my photographer can take pictures of them. Thank you. So we're very pleased to have them here today. I have Bob Kern, who is a businessman extraordinaire that is now a member of the Riverhead Town Board. And we have Liz O'Shaughnessy, who is our director of the Chamber of Commerce, our executive director, who greets everybody that is looking to do business with the town of Riverhead with a smile and brings them to town. And for those of my colleagues who have visited my downtown in Riverhead, they have seen the aquarium and many other venues that downtown Riverhead has to offer. And it is all enhanced by this great town board member and this great executive director of the Riverhead Chamber of Commerce. So, Mr. Speaker, would you please extend the cordialities of the floor to my very special guests here today? Thank you.
Certainly. On behalf of Ms. Giglio, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, here to the New York State Assembly. Extend to you the privileges of the floor. Our congratulations on the work that you're doing in Riverhead. Please continue that great work, important for Long Island, important for the entire state of New York. Please know you are always welcome here. Thank you. Mr. Levine, for the purposes of an introduction.
Mr. Speaker, thanks for allowing me the opportunity to introduce my friend and neighbor, Luis Vasquez, who is sitting in the back and is about to stand. So, Luis, if you will stand, thank you very much. Raised in my hometown of Glen Cove, Luis Vasquez is an extraordinary and committed citizen. These are just a few of his accomplishments. And if I were to recite all his accomplishments, I'd be here for a long time and would certainly start to bore Luis. But I don't want to do that. He was the acting chairman of the Nassau County Heritage Festival, a member of the Glen Cove Knights of Columbus, the Elks Club, the Nassau County Public Utility Agency, the Nassau County Hispanic Parade Committee, the WLIW Channel 21 Community Affairs Advisory Committee, the Molloy Multicultural Advisory Committee, and Hofstra for Hempstead for Hofstra Committee. I'm sorry, it's the Hempstead for Hofstra Community, as strange as that may seem. He's also served as a commissioner at our own Glen Cove Housing Authority. He's has been a member of the Glen Cove Zoning Board of Appeals. I know, Luis, those are late nights. I know very, very well from personal experience. The Council for the Arts of the North Shore, and he's been a past mentor and arbitrator with the Glen Cove Dispute Resolution Center and the Verizon Community Advisory Panel. He's also recently been recognized as by the Long Island Business News as one of the most influential Long Islanders. So, Mr. Speaker, will you kindly extend to my dear friend and neighbor, Luis Vasquez, the privileges and cordialities of the floor?
Certainly, on behalf of Mr. Levine, the Speaker, all the members, Mr. Vasquez, we welcome you here to the New York State Assembly, and we are in awe of the amount of public service that you have provided in your lifetime, and we look forward to that continued service for Long Island and the state of New York. Please know that you are welcome here. We have the privileges of the floor, and we hope that you will always come back and visit us. Thank you so very much.